Before Robert Downey Jr. became one of the most beloved actors in the world, before the red suit, the fame, and the billion-dollar box office, he was Hollywood's cautionary tale, a man who had everything, lost it all to addiction, and somehow fought his way back to become a symbol of redemption. His story isn't just about success or failure, it's about survival, the thin line between genius and destruction, and the impossible climb from rock bottom to legend. Robert John Downey Jr. was born in New York City in 1965, the son of filmmaker Robert Downey Sr., an underground cult director known for his strange, rebellious films. His mother, Elsie, was also an actress. Acting wasn't a dream for Robert, it was the air he breathed. He appeared in his father's movies before he was 10, surrounded by eccentric artists, late-night shoots, and the unfiltered chaos of 1970s New York. It was creative, wild, and dangerous. His father introduced him to drugs when he was barely a child, an act Downey would later describe as both horrifying and defining. By the time he was a teenager, he was already addicted. Drugs, alcohol, marijuana substances became his comfort, his identity, and his cage. But he was also brilliant. In the 1980s, he joined Saturday Night Live, then exploded onto the movie scene with films like Less Than Zero and Chaplin. Critics called him a prodigy. He could mimic anyone, morph into any character, radiate charm and chaos in equal measure. His performance as Charlie Chaplin earned him an Oscar nomination at just 27 years old. He was magnetic, unpredictable, and raw, the perfect storm of talent and tragedy waiting to happen. But the drugs never left. As his fame grew, so did his addiction. In Hollywood, excess wasn't just tolerated, it was expected. Downey became known for showing up late to sets, disappearing for days, getting arrested for possession. He was once found wandering the streets barefoot, muttering to himself after breaking into a neighbor's home to sleep in their bed. Police reports became headlines. Mugshots replaced movie posters. Every time he promised to get clean, he fell again. In the late 1990s, the industry gave up on him. He spent time in and out of rehab, then in actual prison after repeated parole violations. For nearly a year, Robert Downey Jr., once called the next great actor of his generation, was behind bars. Hollywood moved on. Studios stopped calling. Friends distanced themselves. His father's old world of art and rebellion had turned into something darker, a legacy of self-destruction. But somewhere in that silence, something shifted. Downey began to rebuild from nothing. He started taking small TV roles, quietly proving he was still reliable. Producer Joel Silver gave him a chance in Gothika under one strict condition. Most of his salary would be withheld until filming was complete, to ensure he stayed sober. And he did. For the first time in decades, he finished a project without relapse. Then came Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in 2005, a dark comedy that reignited his spark. Director Shane Black took a risk casting him, and the result reminded Hollywood of what it had lost a performer with unmatched wit, timing, and emotional depth. Downey was still fragile, but for the first time, he was winning his own war. And then, out of nowhere, came Tony Stark. When Marvel Studios announced Iron Man, no one wanted Robert Downey Jr. for the role. He was considered too risky, too unreliable, too broken. But director Jon Favreau fought for him, saying, "Robert is Tony Stark." A brilliant man with a dark past, a genius who built himself from his own wreckage. It wasn't just acting, it was autobiography. The film hit theaters in 2008 and everything changed. Downey's charm, arrogance, humor, and vulnerability made Tony Stark unforgettable. Audiences didn't just see a superhero, they saw redemption. The movie launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Robert Downey Jr. became its beating heart. Iron Man saved his career and, in a way, his life. In the following years, he became one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood history. Avengers, Sherlock Holmes, Civil War, Endgame. His performances carried both spectacle and sincerity. He didn't just play a hero, he embodied one. But through it all, Downey never pretended to be cured. He spoke openly about his addiction, his therapy, and the constant effort to stay clean. His recovery wasn't a miracle, it was discipline, humility, and gratitude. He credited his wife, Susan Downey, with saving him. They met on the set of Gothika when he was still a risk. She set boundaries, refused to enable his behavior, and stood by him through the slow, painful process of rebuilding. Together, they created a production company, raised a family, and turned his second chance into something meaningful. Robert Downey Jr.'s story became bigger than his movies. It became a symbol of what Hollywood rarely allows forgiveness. In a world that loves to watch stars burn, he managed to rise again, not as the perfect man, but as a survivor who owned every mistake. His face, once printed under mugshots, now appeared on inspirational posters, TED Talks, and charity events. He used his fame to support prison reform, environmental causes, and addiction recovery programs. And when Avengers Endgame premiered in 2019, and Tony Stark uttered the words, "I am Iron Man" for the last time, it wasn't just a line, it was a statement of triumph. The man who once destroyed everything had finally become the hero he'd always wanted to be, not just on screen, but in life. The story of Robert Downey Jr. is the story of human contradiction, of falling and standing again, of fame that nearly kills you, and redemption that saves you. His past will always follow him, but it no longer defines him. What defines him now is the fight, the daily, relentless decision to be better. Hollywood loves a comeback, but few have been as poetic as his. From a cell to a suit of armor, from addiction to admiration, Robert Downey Jr. didn't just return to the top, he rebuilt it. And in doing so, he reminded the world that sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who save themselves. And what do you think about Robert? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Also, join our community, subscribe, and like. Thanks for watching.